everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again I want to chat with you guys a little bit about my strength standards, which, it's really raised a lot of topics, a lot of questions. People seem to have really enjoyed those videos, and a lot of more experienced lifters have had a lot to say about it. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on scaling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about it. Well, one of the questions that I got was that, Jason, how can you possibly expect lighter weight guys who weigh like 65 kilos or less? So that's around 140 something pounds for people using the imperial system. You guys see the problem there? How do I expect guys who weigh under 65 kilos or who weigh like 135 or 140 pounds to hit my strength standards? I don't. I expect them to gain muscle mass. In other words, it's really weird when people come up with these ideas, because you have to wonder, why in the hell are they in the gym? What are they doing in the gym that they are even weighing that sort of weight? Because, let's be realistic here. Why do we lift weights? Well, we lift weights to feel better. Yeah. To improve our health, improve our bone density, to be more athletic. We do all these things, but let's be more specific. We're usually lifting weights to either gain muscle mass or gain strength. Right? Now, some of you guys say, well, I'm lifting weights to be shredded. Well, if you're lifting weights to be shredded, you're kind of wasting your time. You don't get shredded by lifting weights. You get shredded by reducing your food intake. Now, if you're wanting to just not be skinny, you're going to have to gain muscle. You're lifting the weights to gain muscle mass in that case. If your goals are body composition related, not just performance, you're gaining muscle. That's why you're doing it. You're in the gym to gain muscle. You get shredded by dieting your fat off after you've gained a reasonable amount of muscle. Because, otherwise, if you get shredded, you're going to weigh, 105 pounds. In other words, if you're a guy who started out at $150 and you decide you need to be more ripped than you are right now, you're going to have to lose weight. You're going to have to lose fat. And usually cutting involves losing a little bit of muscle most of the time too. So you're going to lose fat and muscle. So to get shredded, you're going to get small. That's what's going to happen. So why are you lifting weights? You're lifting weights to get bigger. You're lifting weights to get stronger or to get more explosive. How do you think you get stronger? Well, motor patterns and neuromuscular efficiency. Yeah, that's part of it. That's as much as 10% of your strength right there. In some cases, it's as much as 15% of your strength. Where's the rest of it come from? Muscle hypertrophy. And that's becoming more and more apparent. That's not me saying that. That's top researchers in the field saying that. This guy's like Dr. Brad Schoenfeld is saying that. This guy like Greg Knuckles working on his PhD right now. This is guys like Brett Contreras. Did he finish up his PhD? I think he did already. So these are guys who've combined a lot of work, and they're finding size and strength are enormously correlated. That in fact, that they can actually estimate your max squat within 10% based upon a DEXA scan. What? In other words, you can plug in someone's stuff and they can plug it in, see the amount of lean mass in your body relative to your height, your frame size. They can plug it in and they can get your max squat estimated within about 10%. In other words, they could say, well, this guy's, if it turns out that your squat is like 420, 425, they'll probably plug you in like 390 up to about 460 on their chart. It's just that obvious. In other words, something like 85 to 90% of your max squat can be determined looking at your body composition with a scan. And that's based upon their research and studying people. The other factors are only a smaller part of it. Your muscle mass relative to your frame size is what determines your strength. It's the biggest, single most important factor. So if you look at it from that perspective, how do I expect really lightweight guys to get strong? I expect them to gain weight. I expect them to put muscle on their frame. I expect them to gain muscle. How in the hell else are you going to get strong? Do you think that if you're 145 pounds, the day you walk into a gym, that you're magically going to be able to stay 145? Let's say your average height-ish, 5'8", 5'9", somewhere in that range. That's slightly below average in some cases for America. 5'8" is below average. I think 5'9" to 5'9.5" is average. Your average height, and you weigh $145. Do you honestly think you're going to double your strength at the same body weight? Like, do you think that's logistically possible? Do you think the laws of biology and biomechanics allow for that to happen? Of course not. You're going to have to put muscle on. In other words, to hit the numbers that I've projected, you might have to put on 20 plus pounds of muscle mass. You're going to have to bulk up. You might have to go up to 170 pounds. You might have to go up to 180 pounds. In some cases, you might have to bulk to 200 and gain a little bit of extra fat to get there. You're not going to hit those numbers. If you hit those numbers at that sort of body weight, you are probably very short. You're probably 5'3" or less. All right, that's what you need to understand. And even then, you're still doing some freakish stuff because you probably have an insane body composition for your height even to pull that off at that sort of body weight. So I expect you to gain muscle mass. Like, what in the hell do people think that we're talking about with these strength standards? The strength standards that I laid out, which people know my standards, it's that I expect you to either directly or by proxy, meaning you can estimate off of a 5 rep max, I expect you to be able to do a weighted chin-up or pull-up with 100 pounds, a 200-pound strict standing press with a barbell, a 300-pound bench, 400-pound squat, 500-pound deadlift. Those are my strength standards for what? That's what you should hit? No. That is my strength standards that I tell guys that if you're a drug-free lifter and you're training hard for a few years, that if you want to look like you are jacked, if you want to have good body composition and enough size that when you walk down the street, there is no question that people say, yeah, that guy lifts. That's probably where your strength needs to be. Now, if you're using a bunch of drugs, you don't have to necessarily hit those numbers because drugs can build muscle independent of strength. But if you can hit those sort of numbers, all 5 of those numbers, not just 4 of them, but all 5, you're going to have a reasonably well-balanced musculature. You're going to have a reasonable body composition because the pull-up is going to be really hard to do if you're fat and you train legs. And I pointed that out before too. Because guys who don't train legs and who are skinny pull that off a lot easier. But I'm like, yeah, get your squat up to 400. And then come back and tell me how easy that is. Oh, now you've got a bunch of weight in your lower body you didn't have before. So yeah, it is harder. So if you can hit all 5 of those, you're probably reasonably jacked. You probably have enough muscle mass that the average person can tell that guy lifts. And it's distributed pretty well through your body. And you probably have a healthier athletic body composition. You're not fat. You're not walking around with a gut. You probably, in most cases, have visible abs at that point. Reasonable body composition. That was the whole point. So if my numbers are, well, this is what you probably need to hit if you're natural to look like you're jacked and have a well-balanced physique and be big and have a reasonable body composition, you probably need to be able to hit those numbers. That doesn't allow for someone under that weight to do that, does it? Because it means that you're a tiny, sucked up little shrimp who needs to eat. And your body weight is determined completely by your calories in, calories out. It's because you were afraid to bulk up. And if you don't bulk up at all, you can't expect to gain 20 pounds of muscle. It is not going to happen at caloric maintenance. In other words, if you're only eating enough to maintain your body weight, there is no world where it is humanly, even remotely imaginable that you're going to gain 20 pounds of muscle without using a lot of drugs. So people need to get that idea out of their head. So there's no way you're still going to weigh that weight. So the whole question, the idea behind it is insane. I expect people, if they want to get big and strong, I expect them to gain weight if they're skinny. That's the answer to my question. That is what I expect of them. And my strength standard is these are what you need to hit to look big and strong. Because to look big and strong, you probably need to be big and strong. Right? This isn't that complicated, guys. Size and strength are enormously correlated for people who do not use drugs. Okay? They're enormously correlated, and the research is overwhelming towards that. And some of it should just be common sense if you've been around people who lift. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.